Kenya is switching over to a new currency set within the next 3 months, partly in order to deal with illicit cash and counterfeit notes. The announcement was made over the weekend by the country's central bank governor, with emphasis on the note with the biggest denomination, the 1,000 shilling note. That's the equivalent of $10 US. The new banknotes are in circulation alongside the old notes, but the old ones ceased to be legal tender on the 1st of October. According to the central bank, the exchange of old notes for new ones will take place at banks for amounts between $10,000 and $50,000. For anyone with cash exceeding $50,000, they must get clearance from the central bank to do so. Legislators have pushed for amendments to existing banking laws, which require strict recording of the sources and destinations of transactions worth more than $10,000 US. Let's get an additional perspective on this story from Nikhil Hira. He is the director at the Kenyan operation Bowmans Law and an expert in tax matters. So Nikhil, unlike in India, Kenya has given itself a 3-month window to remove the old notes from circulation. This, of course, is aimed at cutting illicit finance. But some are asking, shouldn't this time frame have been shorter?
Well, I think, Peninah, if you look at it, I think there were 2 reasons for doing this. One was clearly the corruption one and the illicit flow of funds. But in addition, we needed to comply with our constitution, which needed new notes without presidential figures on them and things like that, which this is trying to achieve. In India, they did this whole thing overnight. And I think in the long run, at least, or in the short to medium term, they had considerable economic strife because particularly the common person on the street, what we would call our mama bogas here, struggled because there was no liquidity in the market and no one had cash because of the withdrawal of these notes. So yes, I think 3 months is perhaps, or 4 months is perhaps too long, but I think overnight would have created significant economic crisis in the country.
Okay, so in the short term, this may prompt people to try and get cash into the formal financial system. What safeguards are in place to prevent dirty cash from getting into the system?
Right. So the banks already have some requirements set out by the central bank as to what happens when you get a certain amount of cash, over 1 million shillings, what you need to do with it. And the banks are even more prepared now than perhaps they were 2 years ago. Some of them, as you know, face severe penalties on the NYS money. So I think banks are focused on that. That's point one. So they will have a reporting function to the CBK when these funds come in. But more importantly for me, I think if we're going to use this as a way in which to fight the illicit funding, then what we really need to do is link the people who are depositing these funds, whether it's CBK or their branch, to their PIN number, or maybe even their Huduma number now. That way, at least you're able to trace and say, well, you've declared so much in your return, but you're suddenly depositing huge sums of money. So those are the safeguards that need to come into place at that point.
And assuming Kenya did go the India route and demonetize overnight, given how pervasive mobile money is here, the move wouldn't have had as big a shock, would it?
It would have been easier here because if you look at mobile money, you can only hold up to 70,000 shillings, I believe it is, on your phone. So your daily dealings with the mama boga I mentioned, and your boda bodas or your taxis or whatever, your matatu, would have worked on the M-Pesa. So you don't need the cash for that. So from that point of view, yes, it would have been much easier to deal with than it was in India, which didn't have a pervasive mobile money operation going on. So I would agree with you. If we did it overnight, the effect may not be as huge, but there will still be an effect, unfortunately.
Nikhil Hira, thank you for your time.